Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And we are just going to show you the end of round one and the start of round two of Global War 1939 Ultra. Now, Ultra is a working title. We're not sure if it's going to stick, but we wanted to call it something other than just 39. And Doug at HBG will, of course, have the final say on that. So I'm going to show you what we did with Italy here. Now, Italy had some problems because the British came up and took Greece, and they took the Greek fleet, which was a coastal battleship, and there's a couple destroyers in there and the transport, and so I had to take care of that. So I took care of that with Italy, and we lost a sub doing it, but it seemed to be a decent trade. And our constructions were very simple. We built a factory in Tobruk, and we built a military base in Cyrenaica. Now, military bases, you can only produce one infantry per turn, but I figure that'll give me 4 units that I can build in Africa per turn with the Italians. The French will likely start to make their way over this way because the Vichy can't actually move, so the French will probably start working their way this way to cause some grief. But it's kind of left the Italian fleet in a little precarious situation. Now, if you may have remembered, during the German turn, they procured a cruiser here in the Med, thanks to the Vichy rolls. And that cruiser has joined the Italian fleet on the German turn. So what we have here is we got a battleship, 4 cruisers, 5 destroyers, 2 subs, and a couple of transports, which are worth mentioning now because they do defend out of 1. But the British have a couple of fighters down here. They've got a couple of swordfish. Now, those look like early war fighters, but I actually have swordfish on the way. Hopefully, they'll be here by my next video. And they have a tactical. And they got a couple battleships and a couple cruisers and a couple destroyers. So definitely a lot of heavy hitters here and lots of multiple hit units that they can utilize. So if their first round goes well, my Italian fleet could be gone, which would be sad, because although we are making over $30, trying to build a fleet is not a cheap thing. And the British don't have a ton of stuff in Africa, so I'm not terribly worried about them causing a lot of grief to the Italians anytime soon. As you can see, we've gobbled up a little bit of British territory. I left these guys where they were, though. I didn't want to move. I'm going to have the Brits come to them because it's a long ways away, and they're going to be out of position if they come to the Horn of Africa. My Italian Air Force, though, is here and ready to go. So if the British fleet is here after that battle and probably whittled down to just a couple ships, maybe damaged, we'll definitely be hammering them with all that. So that'll be a very interesting turn of events. I don't know if Triplecrown is going to risk that, because if he loses his British fleet in the Med, he doesn't have any other fleet anywhere else out here. They don't exist. So he's got a couple destroyers, but that's about it. So he really can't be too cavalier with his naval units on round 2 of this game. And that's it for Italy. The Germans, we did lose our 3 subs that went up there and sank the destroyer and two transports, but it got the British way out of position. And now, on the German turn, I brought my subfleet here, and as you can see, I have 8 regular subs, 3 coastal subs in C-Zone 16. Plus I have another sub in C-Zone 17 along with the battleship, cruiser, 2 destroyer, and 4 destroyers. So I've got quite a little fleet there. Over here, we have, this is something I'm going to have to lean over the board for, in Finland. So the Soviets came and took Viipuri. I took it back, and we destroyed the Russian destroyer that was in there and sustained no losses. So that's pretty handy. Now, the Russians can definitely outproduce us. They've got the factory that can produce 10 units. I can build 1 Finnish infantry, and I can shuttle over 2 German units each turn. But as you can see, I did build a German military base so they can add another infantry. So if Russia wants to slog it out in Finland, that's fine, because down south I have built a major factory in Romania, and that'll allow me to pump out 10 units per turn. Plus I can pump out 10 in Berlin and get a real shuck going here. That could cause a lot of problems in the south. As you can see, there's not much in the south. A couple of light units and medium units there, and a decent stack of infantry. And Russia does go next, so they do have a build coming up, and they had, probably around 16 to 20 bucks. I'm not exactly sure how much money he had left over from his first turn, but he had $17, so I guess he would have had 17 at least. He had $17, including the Finnish territory, Viipuri, which has, of course, since been liberated. The entire German Air Force is here because I needed to use it to go after Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was a very tough nut to crack. I lost 2 planes there, including a tactical bomber and a medium bomber. So that kind of stunk. You'll notice that a couple of the German planes here, the green ones, the fighters, have pink as well. They are veterans, and there are actually 3 more. I've got to add some more little pink beads to them. They're similar to the Japanese veteran fighters. So a little bit more kick. They attack at a 7. And it's similar to the Spitfires over here, and they all attack at a 7 as well. And so a little bit more punch, showing that the aircraft were indeed a little bit better. Over here, all of the Axis miners, of course, have been activated. Everybody's ready to go. We own all of this territory now as the Axis. All of Europe, all of Western Europe, all of Southern Europe is in our hands. And I have to probably do at least one build before I declare war on the Soviet Union. Probably 2, but we'll see how they roll. Right? As you know, they go up on the chart based on their roll for their economy. And they rolled a 16 this last turn. And we'll have to see if they will roll that again. If they roll that again, that puts them to 32, which means they're only another roll away, basically, from their 48. If they get to 48, that's 3/16s, which means that they're going to be pumping out a lot of units early on, which Germany cannot abide. So at some point, the Barbarossa dice will be kicked in, and that means that the Russian troops are inferior for a round, a whole turn of attacks. So that's Africa and Europe and the Atlantic. Not much going on. In the Atlantic right now, the German subs are ready to pounce. Over here, the Japanese have not declared war on anybody except China. And we're able to get a little bit of territory here in China. We're unable to attack any Chinese units. They were all out of range of my slow ground forces here. Of course, I could have gone after them with my air power, but I'm not going to throw away planes on round 2 when there's no need for it. So I have my 2 minor factories here in Peking and Shanghai, and they'll be cranking out a couple of mechs and an artillery each and every round. I might upgrade some of the mechs to tanks, but they cost 7 and they don't attack very well. So that might not be happening anytime soon. I was able to take French Indochina from the Free French, so that was nice. And that was on round 1, and then on round 2, of course, I can move stuff up into China. Siam received a free infantry, and that's always handy. And on turn 3 coming up, I will be building a factory in Siam, which will allow me to hopefully match what Calcutta can put out. You can see, though, that I have sortied some of the Japanese fleet down here. We have one down here, and he's within range of that convoy zone, as well as that convoy zone, as well as that convoy zone. But he can only go to one at a time. So that's why I brought this destroyer down here. And I've got the carriers, light carriers, with a naval fighter and a naval torpedo bomber on there. And they are deadly against boats if they get the right hits. Now, unfortunately, there's only one British boat over here, so probably he's going to skedaddle with that one. He won't be able to stop the fleet. But Calcutta is a little too well defended right now, and no transports. I have no transports here. As you can see, FEC has taken Sumatra. They'll probably grab Borneo and Celebes this turn as well. They might leave something for Anzac. We'll see. Anzac, of course, building their small builds, typically a destroyer and a man on the first turn, and that's what Triplecrown did. Now, the bulk of my Japanese fleet has come out here to the Carolines. Now, why have I come to the Carolines? Well, I don't want to tilt or show my entire hand to everybody because I know Triplecrown will be watching this. How's it going, brother? But from here, I can assail Honolulu in one turn, and I can also come down, grab Queensland with enough of a force that likely would be able to take it the following turn. So that's that. Plus, I now have a destroyer right there, and I have a sub next to that juicy convoy zone. I built 3 more subs to cause all kinds of grief to the Americans, because that sneak attack's coming at some point. That's the Tora dice. I also have 4 transports up here that are going to be able to pick things up, and we can start heading eastward, and we'll see if we decide to do that. Down here, we have 4 units on 2 transports ready to go. Also, with the Japanese, if you want to use 2 destroyers, you can carry 1 infantry during non-comm movements. And so in that way, you can move guys around the islands a little bit more effectively than having to use transports. One little surprise for the Americans is that I have parked these Japanese submarines off in Sea Zone 50, which is adjacent to Panama. Now, the rules are, again, we're rewriting, rescripting as we see the need. We're saying no surface warships beside, it says the continental U.S. right now, which typically means those main parts, but we both agreed that Panama has an American roundel on it. They did have control of the Panama Canal at the time, and so we are going to say the same thing. But the subs can be there. And so, right now we've got the 4 subs over there, and we've got the fleet here, and then we've got another 5 ships up here that can cause some grief to this Navy. We'll see what he does with it, see if he gets them out of harm's way or if he sticks around. But that's everything, folks. I am going to watch Triplecrown's video. He just sent it to me about what the Soviets are going to do. So we'll see if they still try to want to fight up here. I've got 6 units, including an SS infantry there. We'll see if he wants to tussle with us anytime soon. He's all out of boats, so we can head on in. See what he says. Wish us luck. And we'll give you the end of turn 2 or round 2 and the beginning of round 3 on our next video. And hey, may those dice be with us good guys.